It's been a long, hard weekend, hasn't it? There's been quite a bit going on strongman-wise.
Yeah,
So we're gonna,
with obviously the deadlift attempts all the way through to UK's over in Crumlin Road again. It'd be nice to see that venue. It's a shame that obviously more people couldn't see that venue, but
yeah,
lots.
it was a bit of a weird one. There's been very, very little online. Looks like they don't want the results going out there, which I always think is a shame. I think,
Yeah, well, you say about the result, but that's one of the things I did see actually posted, and from one of the main promoters themselves. I just think that in this day and age as well, when you have got chatter, that's as important sometimes as boots on the ground when it comes to competitions.
getting the interest, that's what we need. I understand
Yeah.
you want it on the TV and stuff like that, but
We all find out anyway. It's
exactly.
about it's
we're
utilising what's out there.
going to talk about the top three because you and me completely got it wrong last week.
Yeah. And I apologise to anyone that is picking up what sounds like a murder scene out the back. We have actually got the builders in, so there's not much I can do about that bit.
Hopefully, it's not going to be too much. But anyway, UK Strongest Man 2020. There is a new champion, and there's been a bit of controversy this weekend with the UK's. It's a 3-day competition, very, very tough competition for those that have never seen or competed in it. Glenn Ross puts on a hard show, and whatever you think of Glenn and his shows, the UK is a very, very brutal show. You've got to get through 3 days of qualifying. So it's I think 4 events day 1, 4 events day 2, and then the 5 events in the final. It's all reset after each day, and they have an eliminator for the bottom 3. So if you're in the bottom 3 each day, they have a deadlift hold as an eliminator. So 3 guys head to head holding out this deadlift for as long as possible. And some of the guys, and myself included in the past, you're sort of trying to save energy day 1, day 2 to get to the final and be as fresh as possible. And it sounds like there was a little bit of controversy with Paul Benton, who was the current champion. So Paul Benton, 2019 champion, is eliminated day 1. And now, I wasn't there. I can't go on facts. All I can go on is what I've been told by a few different people. Now, from what I heard, there was a bit of controversy with scoring on certain events. Apparently, Paul was told he's qualified for day 2 already. So he went off to the hotel, didn't hang around to watch the evening's events, or the eliminator, sorry. And then there was a bit of dispute about some of the earlier scores, and things were checked over, and apparently scores were wrong. So the times that were taken for the log medley apparently were incorrect. And actually, it turns out he was in the bottom 3, had to do the eliminator. He's been rang up by Glenn Ross to come back and do it, and he's kicked off and said, "This is, BS.
Horseshit."
Yeah. He's not coming back, and he's buggered off. So
I've seen the post.
Yeah, you've seen the post.
I've seen his post as well. When he's
I've heard a few things from different guys. There's been some certain issues with scoring, and that's a shame that scoring has caused this issue. But if the score was wrong, then it needs to be corrected because you can't.
Reclassification of scores or reclassification of times, though. I think one of the talking points was that it was done off someone else's mobile phone.
Right.
Which ultimately mobile phones, if you stick them up and just do this, they're not going to start lying. No. But I do understand that. Do you know what? If people sit down at the time with the correct footage, because it is, it's a production. And you go off that to be doubly sure. And I can understand the process.
They're going to have the proper footage. So, I can't imagine they've changed the scores for things if there wasn't a reason to.
Yeah.
There's obviously something's been put down wrong. One of the athletes has disputed something, and rightly so. You would if your times were taken wrong on a certain event.
Yeah.
And
you always say, if the shoe's on the other foot, what would you do? If you feel disgruntled because your time's not right, and it's like, well, there it is. There's my time. That is correct. That puts me in the bottom 3 when I don't mind doing it, but at the end of the day, I shouldn't be there, and it drags some other poor sod in.
I think I think to be, I really can't say who's right or wrong in this situation when you're not. We're going off different stories and people talking, and again, this is one of the reasons why we need to stop messing around with these kind of shows that aren't, put out we're in 2020.
Yeah.
Let's stop messing around and trying to make strongman a little hidden secret. We're trying to make it a bigger, better sport. Let's do things properly. Let's make sure it's on a big stage, even in situations like this year where there's a lot of challenges to kind of think about.
Yeah, because hats off to them, because they get the show underway, and to actually put together a production over a couple of days, fair play to you.
And the problem in prison, it's a great venue, to be honest. I don't know if you've ever been. I've been there. It's a cool looking venue, but these things shouldn't be happening. As an athlete, Paul's got to take responsibility. He shouldn't have been in the bottom three. He should have been making sure his performances were up to scratch. I know a lot of athletes have issues with Paul. Personally, I've never had an issue with him. He's always been very respectful, and I think he's a great athlete. But you have to take responsibility at the end of the day and make sure you're in the right position. Make sure you're looking at the scores yourself.
I do feel for anyone that you're told, right, okay, pack your bag, you can go now. Because
we don't know that he was told that. Okay, that's do you ever, on the first day of a comp, do you just sod off straight after without even watching the eliminator and stuff like that? They hadn't even got the scores all finalized, and he's left. So. I'd be waiting around to watch that final event, see who's through to the next day.
Yeah, I'd park my bum. I'd get nice company, but I would disconnect from the competition mode.
You do.
That's the one thing I'd probably do. That would take me a little bit. Yeah, that's Definitely. The wind out the sail. But
sure.
Ultimately, if he's been called back and didn't want to do it, that's on him. That's. But then all the sort of parting gifts afterwards with social media stuff, you can explain your point. You can be unhappy, you can be disgruntled and stuff. But realistically, it's personal preference. But the only thing that is kind of with Paul is that Paul's actually my first body power, and I actually watched him. I've seen him do very, very well since, because he's gutsy, gritty. It's just that
he's a good all-round athlete.
He's a guts and glory bloke. I quite like that. It's just that in terms of if your arm around the shoulder and he's your mate, and it's like, okay, where do you want to be? What do you want to do now? Is it getting to the point though where he's just going to be starting to be sort of limit where he can
See,
can go?
Personally, and I like Paul. I don't think he helps himself, and I've sort of been in comps with him before. I'm like, just calm down. He's a hot-headed guy. He'll react straight away. And sometimes that's not the best way to be. You need to kind of stay calm, stay level-headed, walk away, think, right, okay, come back, breathe, get on with things. Yeah. And when he's done that, he's done well.
I've watched him evolve quite a lot. Especially the year that he won. There are moments, there's little moments. I think if you've got quite an incendiary character, you're never going to tone that down. But he has grown, he has evolved. He's been a bit more sort of philosophical about things. But ultimately, if you've got, which I can understand, if you've got listen, this should just be better. If you've got a frustration, you can't hide that sometimes. But if it's come at a cost...
There's no need to hide it. I mean, I've had arguments with Glenn before at competitions, but I do it. I talk to him face to face. We sort things out and we move on. You can't be like doing it from behind closed doors and stuff like that.
Or over a tweet.
Over tweets, over, talk to them, talk to these people face to face and sort the issues out. And that's, it's sometimes... If this is the sport you want to be in, you've got to kind of face these people, and he's sort of, and he's like I said, I get on well with Paul, but I think sometimes he's his biggest enemy.
Yeah, I think we'll know the truth soon enough, as it sort of all
exactly
it all comes out in the wash.
When you read it all online, you're hearing one side and then another side, and it's
there are obviously other talking points. So there's a few surprises, I think, with a lot of lads. In the way that the competition kicked off, I think just the fact that you probably haven't had a few comps under your belt makes what is already a very tough challenge a lot tougher, because it comes as a system shock. Because as we say, everything from the logs, the logs are, the whole thing is weighted. It's not weight tacked on, so just cleaning it is a different kettle of fish. The yoke, as you know as well, it's not the easiest thing to pick up, and the fact that it's guarded front and back, you can't really get a stride. You need to watch your ankles, as both I think Colin in the past has found out, even Hicksy to his cost. And as I say, I think there are certain really good stories to come out of it, and none more so for me, I think, in terms of watching a guy, when we talk about guts and glory as well, Phil Roberts getting through day one, getting into day two, and then the news that he's made the final. And what we're talking about, we're not talking about a tear. We're not talking about, even just a year out for what he went through is, I've been on the receiving end of seeing these things.
Just for those that don't know, Phil had a horrific injury at Britain's Strongest Man. Was it 2018?
2018, yeah.
And I mean, we're talking horrific. Yeah. It was, he was fighting to save his leg at one point. They were talking about amputating his leg. The guy has come back and made the final, actually placed fifth. Yeah. And the placing is irrelevant. The fact that you can come back and you can compete at that level, that is hats off to the man, because, there's so many people would have given up a long time ago. They would have, people have given up for much less.
Yeah.
So I honestly, Phil's always had my respect as an athlete, but just as a person to kind of come back from that, I'm really pleased for him. And hopefully now he'll go on and keep enjoying it and do
that's
it.
That's said to you before, that wholesale shift in, he applied a huge amount of pressure to himself prior to the injury. The guy that's come back with this, I just want to stand there again. I just want to compete. I just want to enjoy it. That's magic, because he's I think that's probably the best performance he's ever, because of what he's been able to do and what he's come back from. It's just outstanding. And if you're just a fan of the sport, and if you've ever had an injury, and unfortunately through football, I've seen this type of injury, in terms of tackling, but never from a drop, never from a compression, from like a stone dropping on it. I was there at Brits, and I can honestly you just immediately, because of the manner in which it went down, just think, right, okay, he's done. That is it. You don't even have to wait until the following day.
We went and visited him up at the gym, and he had the cage around the knee, the leg. It was,
And he was a stubborn bastard then as well.
Yeah.
But what fair play to him, because the one thing he did say when everyone was posting up, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. He said, I know what I'm doing. He said, I'm getting the advice. He said, before I even put weight on it, I get told I can do this, then I'm going to do it. And I think what he has actually done is, if he's been told that he has this amount of room to play with, he will use every millimetre of it.
Yeah.
And fair play to him, because physically is one thing. Psychologically, 99.9% of even athletes, I don't think, would come back from that.
Yeah. It's
because didn't he win or come second in things like the yoke?
Which I think he won it.
Yeah. Of which Phil's yoke is good. I would never say it's one of, but there were some really good guys in there.
Phil's decent at yoke. I mean, last time I did UKs, he was good at the yoke.
Yeah.
He's one of the few guys that's finished. When we did the heavy yoke last time I was at the UKs, only him and myself finished it.
Yeah.
And to put that kind of pressure through the leg again after that injury.
Yeah. Well, that tells you one thing. The only thing he's thinking about is, I'm going to finish this. That wouldn't even. I don't even think that must have entered his head.
I think he was there to win.
Yeah,
I really do. And I mean, let's talk. We haven't even mentioned the top three.
No. And it's a good day for the Dragons anyway.
Oh, the Welsh have turned up.
Yeah.
The first time I think ever at the UKs, we've got a Welsh champion.
Yeah.
Gav Bilton smashed it.
Yeah.
I am so pleased for him. I actually didn't pick him out to win. I thought Gav would be fourth, fifth kind of position.
Yeah.
I've been, happily proven wrong.
Yeah.
He's put on so much size. I thought maybe he'd struggle a bit on certain events, the length of the competition perhaps. And it looked like on the first day he wasn't really doing great, but he was doing the professional thing, just doing enough to get.
Not necessarily pulling punches, but it's enough.
It's
enough.
Getting through, because with the way the UK's works is every day it's reset from scratch.
And what is this? This is his third now, isn't it? Second or third?
I think it's his third UKs.
So
he's got the
so that's exactly that. It's utilising that experience. And we said before, this is one of those things where, I think we had a bit of a chat about it in terms of, you'd want to think that, okay, you should be aiming to win, but you could quite happily see him being, fourth, fifth.
Yeah.
But the Giants live experience, Gav's taken some shit off of me. He really has. When the posts come out,
Who hasn't? Because who hasn't?
Yeah, I know, but that's what is it? In a room full of 100 cuddles, one friend's always going to kick you in the ass.
Yeah.
Just to keep you sort of centered, and it's never the easiest thing to do. There's been a lot of lads on the receiving end of it, and Gav's been no different. And I've probably upset him a few times as well. And that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and it's just like, okay, the lay down each time is right. Okay, well, you've shown nothing yet to actually get that increment. The difference sometimes in that increment is that you can make the hard yards, you can make this distance, but actually going from there to there is the hardest little bit. And I think those bits, those patient days of waiting and like getting the Giants call up, and he did well, but I think if you'd have set him down beforehand and said, right, okay, write down each one, where do you think you're going to be? I think he would have been under on certain ones, the realism of it, because obviously the compression of the event and the way that it goes about. But much like some of the other lesser known lads that have come out of that Europe's, the Giants live competition, they've all suddenly just gone, want more. And it's opened up that level. And I think that's no different to someone like Gav. I think every time he's going to go in, he's not scared of being beaten. And I think that's a really good attribute. It's just that he's come away from it again, and it's just brought him on. And to actually now have a title under his belt, and I sent him a message earlier, and I just said, you're really in a good position now. I said, because you sit right in the middle. You have a lot to aim for, but you now got something to lose as well. If you can't be the hungriest you've ever been now, then all bets are off.
Yeah.
But no, he's in a good place. I am chuffed for him. But it's like, okay, you've won the championship. You're into the Premiership. No open top bus just yet. It's time to kick on.
Oh, definitely. The fact that winning titles is hard.
Yeah.
I know that sounds stupid to say, but winning is a skill. You've got to get over that first finishing line. It starts making things a little bit easier sometimes. I mean, it's harder in a way because you get that target on your back now. He's like UK strong because look, the last year's winner out on day one, the winner from the year before out on day two.
Yep. And
when I was a defending champion, I came third the year I came back, and I was expected to win. It's hard to repeat those titles, especially at that show.
Yep. Where every day is a reset as well.
And there's one thing that you've got to give Glenn credit for is the variety that it puts into the shows. Yeah. Every single contest is different.
They're a test. So they're a proper test.
And you could put a different set of events that Glenn might put up, and you might have had fifth place might have come first, or one of the guys who didn't get through on day two might have come first.
And that's where, as I say, I think Gav deserves the credit as well, because he knows the format now. If it is it's year 3, and he's done what it's taken to win. And as he said, that in itself, the skill of learning how to win, how to cross the line. We've all seen in different sports that we've been involved in, we've seen some very, very talented people. Your ability to learn how to cross a line is an entirely different factor. And if he's starting to get that, good on him, because he will be dangerous.
You think we're going to see him really go on now and become a world contender?
I really hope so. I really hope so.
I think
because
you
can't doubt. Well, he's got a brilliant frame. His background is beyond athletic, and this is the bit that's the frustration. It belies, what you sort of see, because obviously and we do take the piss out of his paunch, even all the lads. But this is a guy that's got he just got huge. I think he will, but let's not forget, what did Hathor look like when he turned up?
Yeah.
Big tubby baby.
Yeah, he was.
Big tubby baby. And all of a sudden he starts to refine himself, hone through experience. Now, if Gav can do anywhere near similar, then he's not going to be in a bad place, because, in certain ways, Gav, as an all-round physical athlete, not a basketball player as such, and I know it's a tough game, but when you've been a rugby player and a boxer, there's two things in there. There's that mentality that goes along with it as well, and that fighter spirit. He could be very dangerous.
When we talk about the best British guys, you talk about the Tom Stoltmans, you talk about the Luke Richardsons. Tom is a physical specimen. Luke, not so much. Luke's just graft.
Yeah.
Gav is another physical specimen.
Yeah.
When you're a physical specimen and you can put that hard graft in as well, special things kind of happen. It's like, you become the likes of Brian Shaw, the likes of Hafthor Bjornsson.
Yeah.
Incredible athletes that then, with that determination, that hard work, that drive, they become, they go into that argument of best of all time.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
I'm certainly, I'm not putting Gav in that argument, but
No.
he's got the frame that if he decides to put that effort in, who knows how far he can go.
This is a guy that stood in a ring. And
let's not go on to boxing.
No. But in terms of a mindset, it does make a big difference. You've done martial arts, so you get that, you understand that little bit. There is a lot to be said about being able to sort of stand there, have that proper self-confidence, not this faux. Yeah, exactly. But also you want to win, and you know what it takes to win. Right. So no, that'd be good.
Let's talk about the next two men. Second place, Mark Felix. He replaced, we spoke about Terry Hollands last week.
Yes.
Found out just after Terry pulled out, Mark Felix replacing Terry. And Mark Felix at 54 years old, is he now?
72.
He just takes every single opportunity. And here he is, second place at UK Strongest Man.
And loving it.
Just
always with a smile, killing it on deadlift again.
Breaking the British record, was it, or the world
British record? I think. Yeah, I think it's the British record.
18-inch dead. I think it was the world record, actually.
Was that Raunos then, from back in the day?
I've got to be honest. I've not seen results from this show. Everything's been kept hush hush. So I won't go saying it's a world record or anything. But winning the competition with ease on the 18-inch deadlift and.
Yeah, and he's 11 years older than me, and I consider myself old. He is phenomenal. And it's, Mark turns up, does comps, goes to work. Yeah. When we're seeing everywhere people sort of pile themselves into cars and have
time as a plasterer.
Yeah, physical job.
Physical job.
But he always said that about, he does it because he absolutely loves it. It's an enjoyment, and that's the bit that keeps you ticking, keeps you going. And whilst he's competitive still. He's still competitive. And there's certain bits, you're never going to reclaim. But we spoke about this in a previous chat in terms of that reinvention. Those times that if you lose your pace, you suddenly all of a sudden you have to develop some nous. Mark, not necessarily complete reinvention, but he's clever. He is clever, and you don't pick up trophies if you're not clever. And fair play to him. It's brilliant to see, really is.
It gives guys like us, inspiration that, maybe there's still more to come.
It's even in terms of just like stay in the mix. I always know what it's like when I first moved up north. The first thing he said as well was, you can come and train. Yeah. What you do, and he's always interested in what you're doing. Are you keeping fit? Are you keeping active? Are you keeping healthy? And they're fair play to him because he lives the life. He does. This is a guy that eats well. He just look at him. There's a reason why I call him the Benjamin Button of Strongman. It's because it looks like the man is regressing, not getting older.
He actually, he's sort of a few times over the kind of years, I've seen Mark Felix sort of dwindle down, and you think Mark's done now. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, he's winning shows, he's podiuming, he's breaking world records. And then suddenly he's sort of down. You think he's finished, and he's back up again. And I'm talking, I've known Mark 15 years, competed against Mark for 15 years. And over that time, there's been a number of times where I thought, he's finished. Keeps surprising us, keeps coming back.
I would love you to put together, I know this is going to take some research and this is going to put you on the spot a little bit, but just as a piece, I would love to see you feature in high-level competition, i.e. aired competition, every strongman he has competed against on televised. Do you know what I mean, though? But immediately as an exercise, how vast, how many people that man would have stood shoulder to shoulder with, and in most parts, beaten.
Yeah.
It's incredible, absolutely incredible when you look at because he spans so much of a generation. And you got to think, what did he start at 37 years of age? 37 he came in.
Yeah.
It's just nuts. Absolutely nuts. And this is a guy that's going to take, most appearances at, at Worlds. You run out of plaudits for him, but he's earned every one of them.
He definitely has. Let's talk about third place.
Yeah, another guy he's
this
kind of
year.
been around for a bit, hasn't he? But in terms of
Yes.
and his face belies his age as well, because he is a baby faced boy. But Mark Jeans has been around for a little bit, third place. Again, another lad. He wanted to get back on the horse. He wanted to get back in. He took a little bit of a bit of a
break,
breather.
didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of a breather. Found a bit of a passion for it. He's got a good little training community around him, and it's paid off.
Yeah.
Because again, just to make final of the UK is a tough ask. To get on the podium when everyone is pretty much ready to go, and fair play to him. I'm really quite chuffed as well, and that whole thing of the Welsh coming through, the training partner as well in Desi,
we've talked about how the Scottish have sort of become competitive over the last few years. The Welsh are there now as well. When you talk about UKs, you talk about Britons now, it's not just England dominating, which it was a few years ago. It's a real mixture. We've got great athletes coming through from all areas of the country, the UK, Britain, and a Welsh champion is. When was the last time you had a Welsh champion? Probably Gary Taylor was the last Welsh champion they had in anything. So
and we're going back a little bit of time there.
You're going back, a long time. So awesome to see. It's two of them on the podium. Fair play. That's got to be.
And let's say there's a raft of guys, and then as I say, that whole thing about the English always, it goes sort of fairly recent times. Shahlaei, Hollands, Felix, and then you can throw a few names into the mix as well, and then it's got the more recent times as well with like the Hicks, so on and so forth. Bishop. But then when you look at the Scots as well, you got Lewis Jacks come out of nowhere. He's only been around for a couple of years, and he's in the mix. Zaki, fair play to him. This is a guy that days before wasn't even too sure whether his arm was still attached to him, and it finds out it was sort of semi-dislocated, and he's in the mix. Tears a quad in the final day. And he was right there as well. But those guys, you've got a guy sat on the sidelines at the moment with a best part of a mashed foot in Scotty Milne, and as you say, then you got the Strongmans, then you got sort of Paul Benton, and the guys that you can pick from now. It's fantastic because it just shows a little bit of depth.
Level of the UK
it's gone up.
Strongman scene.
Yep,
both male and female. In almost every weight class is high across the board. There's not just one guy dominating for years and years. I mean, obviously we had the reign of Eddie Hall. He was, the last guy you'd really say dominated. But right now, you can have a different winner of every single comp that happens. You look at the way people talk about the Stoltmans, for instance. The Stoltmans, let's rein it in a little bit. They've still not won a major title.
No.
Other than, they've won the Scottish, both of them, but they've not been Britain's strongest man. And you think how people talk about them being contenders for worlds, and they've not won the British. Yeah. It just shows the standard that we have in the UK when you've got guys like Bishop, you've got guys like Hicksy, you've got guys like Luke Richardson, that are winning shows. Every single show, it's a different winner right now. And that makes it exciting as a fan.
Yeah.
And
all of them bring a different level of character with them as well. If that's what I've always liked. I know that people try and paint this whole thing of it's an entertainment bit. I get that, but it comes from the natural character. That's where your fans align. You don't need to sort of zazz it up any more than that. Every athlete has their own, sort of fan base through their natural sort of attributes and their natural sort of being. I'm just waiting for this guy to come through this wall at the moment. It's terrifying me. What a time to do building work at sort of like, but no, there obviously there's a few things that sort of didn't go according to plan for certain athletes as well. And that is, Paradwire. Yep. I think by the sound of it, what is he tore out his hands.
I haven't. I'm not sure what happened with Pa. So if you know,
I think he's got. I think he tore like a lot of lads did. I think a lot of lads
on the Farmer's Walk.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but and then day two, there's a load of grip events, and once you you can tape them, you can glue them, but once you've torn out, and it does get.
It's one of those situations. It's happened to all of us. You know, the calluses get torn out, and it does make things hard.
And you've got some in people like Power as well. You've got cerebrally strong characters, and if it's not just a case of holding on, it just ruins it. yeah, there's not. It feels like there's not much you can do, and then by the time that's kicked in, when everyone else is trying to inch forward, unless you're on song, unless you've got a little bit of luck with all these things, it's going to take its toll. And unfortunately, it took its toll for him. Day one, what did we see? So we saw Paul Benton go out. We saw Andrew Flynn go out. I think then we saw both Ollie and Ryan Bennett go out from the previous group. Day two would have then been Para Dwyer and is it Matthew McKeegan?
Yeah.
And then I'm not too sure from the other group, thinking off the top of my head.
I think it was Desi and
yeah.
Can't remember the other one.
But the other Matthew, the other Irish lad, made it through to the final.
Yeah.
Which will be interesting to see because no disrespect, fella, but unless you're online and they put a few posts up, we're not going to see any of it until it gets to Christmas. We'd love to give you a little bit more coverage and say a little bit more about it, but
there's literally
our hands are tied.
No, so it's just one of those things. But
yeah.
Winner Gav Bilton, second place Mark Felix, third place Mark Jeans. Well done to the Welsh boys. Well done to Mark Felix. It's another new champion. So we're getting
Paul Smith, was he fourth?
Paul Smith was fourth. Yeah, Paul was my pick to win. Let me down, Paul. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
But
I think we need to club together and get him some new trainers, and we'll be fine. I'm going to throw it in again, Paul. Every week you're going to get some sort of shit about your shoes.
It's and with Phil coming fifth as well.
Yeah.
Really, really, I'm looking forward to watching it. It's
but no, hats off to you boys for as I say, it's
a tough contest anyway. These guys had to compete 7 p.m. till about 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
In the pissing down rain, the conditions were horrible. So fair play to all of you. I've been in that position before. It's not easy. Well done, each and every one of you. You're all going to come back stronger and better next time. And just whether you won or you kind of came last, learn from it. I spoke to Ollie and Ryan, two of my lads that did it. First time for Ollie being at UK's. Unfortunately, Ollie picked up a back injury a couple of weeks ago. Felt it go on the yoke. We tried to do everything we can to sort of get him back into it. He was always going there for experience, and he, just seeing what the older guys have done, it's motivated him. He's still a junior. He's going to come back stronger. Ryan just missing out on getting through to the next day. But look at the standard of the groups. They were, they were really strong. He's getting better all the time, and all the lads.
And I've got to throw it in about the other lad in Group 2 on day 2 because
he liked to tell us, didn't he?
No, Ben Williams. Sorry, mate. I can't believe I forgot you.
Ben, yeah.
yeah. I'm so sorry. It's one of those ones where it's like, because you sort of think of sort of people and it kind of goes to the back of your head because you're trying to think of the people you don't know very well.
Again, another highly improved athlete, though.
Oh God, yeah, and that's again, it's all these lads that are sort of in the mix. And they get to rub shoulders, you can see the advancement. And there's going to be, when you've looked at some of the feeds that come back, obviously they can't post stuff out, but you look at the sort of vernacular that these guys have had afterwards. And there's probably about 3 or 4 guys.
Have a word, Marcus.
I know. There's about 3 or 4 guys you look at off the back of this one and you go, do you know what? They'll be in the final, if not on a podium next year. Because they've just got that bit between the teeth now. It's all seen as a positive. So, yeah,
definitely. While you're here, guys, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my awesome strength content.